What's happening right now inside Netflix's Los Angeles offices is raising some serious questions about Meghan Markle's lifestyle brand. We're talking about storage rooms packed with as-ever products being handed out to employees like office supplies. And I'm not talking about a few samples here and there. One staffer reportedly walked out with 10 products for free. This isn't your typical promotional strategy. And the timing? It couldn't be more interesting. Just weeks after a massive website glitch exposed hundreds of thousands of unsold items, those same products are now flooding Netflix headquarters. So what's really going on here? Is this a clever marketing move, or are we watching a quiet liquidation unfold in real time? Because when a brand that's supposed to be selling out instantly starts getting distributed like freebies at a conference, something doesn't add up. Let me walk you through exactly what's happening behind closed doors, and trust me, this story gets wild. Look, I need to give you some context here, because this whole situation didn't just happen overnight. Meghan Markle launched As Ever back in April 2025, after scrapping her original plan to call it American Riviera Orchard. That whole rebrand came after trademark issues, which should have been the first sign that things weren't exactly smooth sailing. The brand was supposed to be this luxurious lifestyle collection: jams, honey, candles, wine, flower sprinkles, the kind of stuff that makes you feel fancy, even though you're just spreading jam on toast. And here's the thing, the launch was tied directly to her Netflix show, With Love, Meghan. The idea seemed smart enough on paper: create a show about cooking and entertaining, feature your products, let people buy what they see. It's basically the influencer playbook, scaled up to Duchess level. But from day one, Netflix staffers weren't exactly thrilled. Multiple sources described the As Ever launch as a logistical nightmare. We're talking about coordination headaches, inventory management issues, and a general sense of frustration behind the scenes. One insider told reporters they were already over it before the products even hit the market. That's not the kind of enthusiasm you want from the team that's supposed to help make your brand successful. And then there's the promotional strategy itself, which relied heavily on Meghan's Netflix platform. The show was meant to drive sales, create buzz, and establish As Ever as a must-have lifestyle brand. Except the show's ratings didn't exactly deliver on that promise. Season 1 of With Love, Meghan pulled in around 2 million views over its final 4 months. That might sound decent until you realize it ranked as the 1,217th most watched title on Netflix during that period. Think about that for a second. Netflix has thousands of titles, sure, but for a show featuring a globally recognized figure with massive promotional backing, those numbers are pretty underwhelming. The holiday special did slightly better, hitting 2.4 million views and landing at spot 1015, but here's the kicker. Despite the underwhelming performance, Meghan talked up the brand's success at every opportunity. She claimed products were selling out within minutes, that demand was so high they couldn't keep up, that they jumped from producing a few thousand jars to ordering 1 million. And for a while people believed it. Why wouldn't they? Sellouts are impressive, right? Except now we're seeing what happens after the sellout headlines fade. Now here's where things take a turn, and honestly, this is the part that got everyone talking. Back in early January, As Ever's website experienced what was initially called a technical glitch. Sounds innocent enough. Websites crash, bugs happen, no big deal. Except this wasn't just any glitch. For a brief window of time, the site accidentally revealed exact inventory numbers for every single product. We're not talking vague low stock warnings or almost sold out messages. These were precise, down to the unit counts of what was sitting in warehouses. And the numbers? They were massive. The glitch showed roughly 220,000 jars of jam still unsold. There were 30,000 jars of honey collecting dust, 90,000 candles waiting for buyers, 80,000 tins of flower sprinkles, and about 70,000 bottles of wine, including Sauvignon Blanc, Rosé, and Brut sparkling varieties. Amateur internet sleuths discovered they could exploit the website's shopping cart feature by adding huge quantities of items, and the site would automatically display the maximum available number. That's how the real inventory numbers came to light. When you add it all up, we're talking about roughly 650,000 unsold items. For a brand that supposedly sells out in minutes, that's a staggering amount of product sitting around. Obviously, Meghan's team went into damage control mode pretty much immediately. Sources close to the business started pushing a very specific narrative. This inventory wasn't evidence of poor sales, it was proof of smart business planning. They claimed the massive stock numbers were intentional, part of preparation for international expansion. The argument went something like this: when products sell out too quickly, you can't gather data about which items customers prefer. You can't test the market properly. So they deliberately overproduced to ensure they had enough inventory for sustained sales and global distribution. One source told reporters the glitch actually revealed a business that's flying, literally off the shelf. But here's where that explanation starts to feel shaky. If demand is really that high, if products are genuinely flying off shelves, why would you need 220,000 jars of jam sitting in storage? Why would international expansion require keeping tens of thousands of candles in warehouses for months? And more importantly, why would those products end up being given away for free at Netflix offices? Because that's exactly what started happening. And this is where the story gets really juicy. Fast forward to just a few days ago, and word started spreading that Netflix's Los Angeles offices were packed with as-ever products. We're talking about 2 storage rooms at the Icon Tower and Epic Building, both part of Netflix's sprawling Hollywood campus, stuffed full of Meghan's merchandise. Jams, candles, wine, those signature flower petal sprinkles, all sitting there like excess inventory at a warehouse sale. And Netflix employees, they're being told to help themselves. Take what you want, it's free. Multiple sources confirmed this is happening right now. One insider said employees are literally walking out with armfuls of products. Another mentioned someone leaving with 10 items in a single trip. And get this, these aren't just sample sizes or promotional testers. We're talking full-sized retail products, the same stuff that's supposed to be selling for $14 a jar of jam, $32 for honey, $64 for candles, and up to $89 for a bottle of Brut sparkling wine. When you're handing out $89 wine bottles to office staff like they're ballpoint pens, something's definitely off. Now, to be fair, Meghan's team and Netflix have their official explanation ready. According to sources with knowledge of the situation, the inventory stored at Netflix offices was always intended for promotional gifting and sampling purposes. They claim the bulk of as-ever's actual retail inventory was moved to a separate warehouse long ago, and what remains at Netflix HQ is just marketing material. Essentially, they're saying this is normal business practice. Keep some product on hand for PR purposes. Let staff try things out. Use it for promotional events. Nothing to see here, folks, but here's what makes people skeptical. The volume of product being distributed seems way beyond what you'd typically keep for promotional purposes. Most companies might have a closet or small storage area with samples and giveaways. Netflix reportedly has 2 entire storage rooms packed with as-ever goods. That's a lot of promotional material. And the timing is suspicious as hell. This distribution ramp-up happened right after the website glitch exposed massive unsold inventory, and right after Meghan's Netflix show was officially not renewed for a 3rd season. The show bombed in the ratings. The website revealed hundreds of thousands of unsold items, and suddenly Netflix offices are flooded with free products. You can see why people are connecting those dots. Wait till you hear what happened with the Netflix deal itself, because that's a whole other layer to this story. Back in 2020, Meghan and Harry signed what was reported as a massive $100 million deal with Netflix. That was the big exclusive contract, the one that made headlines everywhere. But when that deal came up for renewal in 2025, things changed significantly. Instead of getting another exclusive mega deal, they got what's called a first look agreement. That means Netflix gets first dibs on their projects, but the financial commitment is much smaller. Multiple reports confirmed the new deal is worth considerably less than the original $100 million, and honestly, you can understand why Netflix might have been hesitant to renew at the same level. The couple's production track record has been mixed at best. Their documentary, Harry and Meghan, did well. That was successful, no question. But almost everything else has struggled. The Polo show flopped. With Love, Meghan couldn't crack the top 1,000 most-watched titles for most of its run. For a streaming service that's increasingly focused on cost efficiency and proven hits, that's not exactly the return on investment you're looking for. So when industry insiders heard about Netflix offices becoming as-ever distribution centers, a lot of people started wondering if this was part of some kind of exit strategy. Think about it from Netflix's perspective for a minute. They've got a partnership with Meghan that's not delivering the viewership they need. They've helped produce and promote her lifestyle brand through the show, but the show's tanking. Now they're sitting on significant investments in content that didn't perform, and possibly even inventory commitments tied to the brand integration. What do? One option is to quietly liquidate whatever inventory obligations exist by distributing products internally. It keeps employee morale up. Free fancy wine and candles are always nice perks, and it clears out warehouse space without the embarrassment of public fire sales or discount outlets. Here's the part that got me really thinking. There's this concept in business called a tax write-off strategy. When a company has excess inventory that's not selling, they can donate it or dispose of it in certain ways and claim tax deductions. Now, I'm not saying that's definitely what's happening here. I don't have Netflix's financial statements in front of me, but it's a strategy that makes sense given the circumstances. If you've got hundreds of thousands of units sitting in warehouses, depreciating in value, taking up storage space, and unlikely to sell at retail prices, converting them to promotional gifts or employee benefits can actually be financially smarter than letting them sit. You get some tax advantage, clear the inventory, and avoid the PR disaster of liquidation sales. The social media reaction to all this has been absolutely savage. Once word got out about the Netflix distribution, people started mocking the whole situation mercilessly. The phrase Netflix clearance started trending in certain circles, with users joking that Meghan's luxury brand had been downgraded to office supplies. One person tweeted something like, "Imagine launching a luxury lifestyle brand and 6 months later it's being handed out like free notepads at a corporate office." Another joked that As Ever was becoming As Ever, unwanted. The memes came fast and brutal. Someone created a parody of Netflix's login screen with "Would you like some As Ever jam with that?" as a promotional pop-up. Others photoshopped images of As Ever products next to staplers and printer paper, suggesting they'd become just another office commodity. But beyond the jokes, there's a more serious criticism that keeps coming up. A lot of people are calling As Ever a vanity project, something created more for Meghan's personal brand and image than as a genuine business with sustainable consumer demand. Critics point to the pricing as evidence. $14 for jam when you can get premium artisanal jams for $8 or $9. $64 for candles that don't even have wicks in some of the designs. $89 for sparkling wine that's not from an established winery. The argument is that these prices only make sense if people are buying the products because of Meghan's association, not because they're competitively priced quality goods. And if that's the case, the brand was always going to struggle once the initial celebrity curiosity wore off. Defenders of Meghan have a different take. Obviously, they argue that As Ever is being held to an unfair standard, that new brands always take time to establish themselves, and that the criticism is rooted more in anti-Meghan bias than legitimate business analysis. Some supporters point out that the rosé wine genuinely did sell out in under an hour when it launched, suggesting there is real demand for at least some products. They also note that plenty of celebrity brands go through growing pains, pricing adjustments, inventory challenges, distribution issues, without facing the same level of scrutiny. In their view, this is another example of Meghan being torn apart for doing things that other celebrities get away with constantly. And look, there's probably some truth to both perspectives. Celebrity brands are incredibly difficult to sustain. For every Kylie Cosmetics or Fenty Beauty that becomes a billion-dollar empire, there are dozens of celebrity fragrances, clothing lines, and lifestyle brands that quietly disappear within a year or two. The market is brutally competitive, and name recognition only gets you so far. You need product quality, smart pricing, efficient distribution, and most importantly, you need to give consumers a reason to keep buying beyond the initial curiosity purchase. That's where As Ever seems to be struggling. The first time buyers came, they tried the jam, they posted their fancy candles on Instagram, and then, what? Where's the repeat customer strategy? Where's the expansion that justifies producing 1 million jars? Now, this is where it gets wild, because there are genuine questions about what happens next. Netflix has essentially confirmed, through their silence and the downgraded deal, that they're not going all in on Meghan's content anymore. The show won't be getting a third season, though there's some speculation she might do one-off holiday specials. That means the primary marketing platform for As Ever just disappeared. Without the show, how does the brand reach customers? Traditional retail partnerships, online marketing, influencer campaigns, all of those cost serious money and require expertise that's different from producing Netflix content. And here's the uncomfortable reality. If Netflix was hesitant to renew their overall deal, are other major retailers going to be excited about stocking As Ever products? Probably not, especially if they've been following the inventory news. There's also the international expansion question. Meghan's team keeps mentioning plans to go global, but international distribution is incredibly complex and expensive. You need regulatory approvals for food products, different packaging for different markets, relationships with international retailers or robust e-commerce infrastructure, marketing campaigns tailored to local audiences, and significant capital investment up front. For a brand that's allegedly doing great but somehow has hundreds of thousands of unsold units domestically, jumping to international markets seems risky at best, unless the plan is to offload inventory through international discount channels, which would pretty much kill the luxury brand positioning entirely. Some industry analysts have suggested that 2026 might be a make-or-break year for As Ever. If the brand can't establish sustainable sales momentum, secure retail partnerships, or find a viable path forward without Netflix's platform, it might quietly wind down. That doesn't necessarily mean a dramatic public failure. Plenty of celebrity brands just fade away with vague statements about pursuing other opportunities or taking the brand in a new direction. The Netflix distribution situation could be an early sign of that kind of quiet exit. Get rid of excess inventory, fulfill whatever contractual obligations exist, and gradually phase the business out without admitting it didn't work. But there's another possibility that's worth considering. Maybe this really is just aggressive promotional strategy. Maybe Netflix is using As Ever products as employee perks, while Meghan's team retools the business model for a relaunch. Maybe they're clearing out first-generation inventory to make room for new products and updated packaging. Maybe the international expansion is real, and this is just standard preparation. In that scenario, a year from now we could be talking about how As Ever overcame early challenges and became a successful lifestyle brand. Stranger things have happened in business. What's interesting to me is how quiet both Netflix and Meghan's representatives have been about addressing these specific claims. When you're talking about storage rooms full of products being given away, that's not a minor rumor, that's pretty specific, verifiable information. Multiple sources have confirmed it's happening, yet neither side has come out with a detailed explanation or rebuttal. Netflix declined to comment to reporters. Meghan's reps haven't issued statements addressing the distribution specifically. That silence is telling. If this was truly just normal promotional gifting and there was nothing unusual happening, you'd expect clearer communication about it. The lack of response suggests maybe there isn't a great explanation that doesn't raise more questions. And then there's the personal side of this that we can't ignore. For Meghan, As Ever represents more than just a business venture, it's part of her post-royal identity. After stepping back from royal duties, after the Oprah interview, after the various controversies and media battles, building a successful lifestyle brand was supposed to be proof that she could thrive independently. It was meant to show that she has genuine influence and business acumen beyond her royal connections. If As Ever fails or gets quietly shelved, that's not just a business setback. It's a very public symbol of struggling to find footing after leaving the royal family. The stakes are higher for her than they would be for most celebrity brand launches, which means the pressure to present this as successful is immense, even if the reality is more complicated. What I find fascinating is comparing this situation to other celebrity lifestyle brands. Take Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop, for example. That brand faced years of mockery, controversy over questionable health claims, and endless criticism, but it survived because it found its niche audience and built a sustainable business model, even if that model involves selling jade eggs and vampire facials to a specific demographic. Martha Stewart's brand empire faced a literal prison sentence and came back stronger. The difference is, those brands had time to establish themselves before facing major existential challenges. As Ever launched with huge expectations, immediate criticism, and now serious inventory questions, all within its first year of existence. That's a brutal timeline for any new business. There's also the royal family angle that keeps coming up in discussions about this. Some commentators have suggested that the As Ever situation demonstrates why working royals aren't supposed to have outside business ventures. The potential for commercial exploitation, conflicts of interest, and embarrassing failures is exactly why the royal family has traditionally kept commercial activities at arm's length. Whether that's fair criticism or not, it's definitely part of the conversation happening around this story. People are drawing connections between Meghan's current business struggles and the royal family's historical reluctance to engage in direct commercial ventures beyond carefully managed patronages, appearances. Look, the truth is probably somewhere in the messy middle of all these competing narratives. As ever likely had some genuine early success, the rosé sellout seems real. Some products probably did move quickly initially, but the business also clearly overproduced relative to sustained demand, struggled with the logistics of being both a Netflix-integrated brand and a standalone retail operation, and now faces serious questions about its path forward. The Netflix distribution could be partly promotional, partly inventory management, and partly about fulfilling obligations from a partnership that's winding down. It doesn't have to be entirely one thing or another. What we know for certain is this: a lifestyle brand that launched less than a year ago with massive media attention is now seeing its products distributed free to Netflix employees, while questions swirl about unsold inventory and the future of its primary marketing platform. That's not where you want to be 12 months in. Whether this is a temporary stumbling block or a sign of deeper problems will likely become clearer over the next few months. If As Ever bounces back with new retail partnerships, successful product launches, and sustainable sales, this whole episode will be remembered as a rough patch. If the brand quietly disappears or scales way back, the Netflix storage room story will be seen as the canary in the coal mine. So what happens next? That's the question everyone's asking. Will Netflix officially comment on their inventory distribution? Will Meghan's team address the liquidation speculation directly? Are we going to see As Ever products start showing up in discount retailers, which would effectively kill the luxury positioning? Or will there be some surprise announcement, a major retail partnership, a pivot in business strategy, a relaunch with new products and messaging? Right now we're in this weird limbo where the situation looks problematic, but nothing official has been confirmed or denied in detail. It's like watching a slow-motion car crash where you're not sure if the car's going to somehow correct course or if it's definitely hitting that wall. The broader lesson here is about celebrity brands and the massive gap between launching something and building something sustainable. Meghan has the fame, the public platform, the media attention, all the things that should give a lifestyle brand a massive advantage. But fame only gets you so far. You need supply chain management, customer retention strategies, competitive pricing, quality products, efficient distribution, smart marketing, and a business model that makes sense beyond the initial publicity wave. A lot of celebrity brands fail because the celebrity assumes their name is enough, and it turns out it's not. Whether that's what happened here remains to be seen, but the warning signs are definitely flashing. And here's something that's been bouncing around in my head. What does this mean for future celebrity partnerships with streaming platforms? Netflix was supposed to be this perfect synergy opportunity. Create content, integrate products, build brand, everyone wins. Except it didn't work out that way, and now Netflix is probably rethinking how they structure these kinds of deals. Other celebrities watching this situation are probably taking notes too. If Meghan Markle, with all her global recognition and media savvy, can't make the streaming platform to lifestyle brand pipeline work smoothly, who can? Maybe the lesson is that content and commerce are harder to integrate than the hype suggested. Maybe audiences are savvier than brands give them credit for and can smell when a show is basically an extended commercial. These are the questions industry folks are definitely asking behind closed doors. There's also the personal cost we don't see. Imagine putting your energy and reputation into launching a brand, dealing with the behind-the-scenes stress of production and distribution and marketing, and then watching as the narrative becomes about overstock and giveaways and potential failure. That's brutal, regardless of whether you're a duchess or not. Business failures happen to even the most successful entrepreneurs. It's part of the game. But when your business struggles happen in front of millions of people, with every stumble analyzed and mocked online, that's a different kind of pressure entirely. I don't envy anyone in that position, celebrity or not. What I think is most important to watch going forward is whether As Ever can find a viable path forward independent of Netflix. If the brand was always meant to be tied to the streaming platform and that platform is stepping back, what's plan B? Does Meghan have the capital and commitment to build out standalone retail operations? Can she attract investors or partners who believe in the brand's potential despite the rocky start? Or was this always meant to be a limited run tied to the show, and now that the show's done, the brand winds down too? These are genuine questions without obvious answers, and the next few months should give us some clarity. In the end, the As Ever internal liquidation story is really about the collision between celebrity ambition, business reality, and the increasingly complicated world of content creation and commerce. It's about what happens when the PR narrative of instant sellouts meets the practical reality of managing hundreds of thousands of units of inventory. It's about the pressure to succeed publicly while dealing with behind-the-scenes challenges that would sink most startups. And it's about how quickly things can shift from triumphant launch to serious questions about viability. So here's what I'm watching for. Any official statements from Netflix or Archewell Productions addressing the inventory distribution directly. Announcements about new As Ever retail partnerships or international launches. Changes in product pricing or availability that might signal strategic shifts. And most importantly, whether products continue being distributed at Netflix offices or if that quietly stops now that it's getting attention. Those will be the tea leaves that tell us which direction this story is really heading. What do you make of all this? Do you think As Ever is genuinely struggling, or is this being blown out of proportion by critics looking to take shots at Meghan? Have you ever bought any As Ever products, and if so, what did you think of them? Are celebrity lifestyle brands just fundamentally overrated, or can they work with the right strategy? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because I'm genuinely curious how people are reading this situation. Is this a temporary setback, or the beginning of the end for Meghan's lifestyle brand dreams? And if you're into royal drama, business analysis, and celebrity culture chaos, you know what to do. Hit that like button. Smash subscribe so you don't miss future updates on this story, because something tells me we haven't heard the last of the As Ever saga. What happens next could determine not just Meghan's business future, but how streaming platforms think about